Our next speaker is Reba J. Parker, who is a professor of peace studies, author, and visionary voice for what she calls practical peace. For over 2 decades, she's taught students, communities, and leaders that peace isn't a lofty ideal. It's a learnable skill and the missing ingredient to solving the problems we face every day. Her new book, The Peaceability Mindset, redefines peace as power in action, helping people see that peace doesn't just change the world, it changes us. Please welcome to the stage, Reba Parker.
How we doing? It's good to see everybody. Thanks for coming out. 10 years into my teaching career, I was still an adjunct. I was barely making rent, a single-parent mom with 2 kids. I was struggling, but I had some good news. So I called my mom up and my dad, and I said, hey, guess what? I've got a new class I'm teaching at the college. It's called Sociology of Peace. My mom, without a pause, said, Reba, that is the most ridiculous idea I have ever heard. And then she said, we're not going to have peace till Jesus comes. Now, there's some context there that I won't get into. But, to be honest, that stung, that hurt. I was embarrassed, I felt ashamed, and I felt deflated. But, to be honest, I didn't even know if I believed that peace was possible. Not yet anyway, not really. A week later, my classes start. My students walk in with their backpacks, all excited for a new semester. They sit down, and I can see in their face they're looking at me like, what is this class on peace? And then I see a student lean over and whisper, easy A. And then another one said, fluff credit. And I'm like, what was I thinking? And why is peace such a joke to everybody? So, somewhere during that semester, some things started to shift. The mood changed. The questions got much deeper, and the conversations got personal as my students began to relate peace not only to their lives, but to their stress, their relationships, their future. By the end of the semester, they had not only changed, but transformed. They were asking questions like, why didn't we learn this when we were kids? Or why isn't this a required course for all students at the college? Even my dad called up and asked questions. And it was at that moment I knew this was not just a class. This was a spark. It was a beginning. It was a glimpse into what peace could look like when we stop treating as naive and start seeing its possibilities. So I started to think, why is everybody so skeptical about peace, right? And then I thought, for centuries, we've taken peace and pushed it to the back of the room. So if you're here sitting saying the same thing, I don't buy into this peace thing, I get it, but just look around. Here's the problem. If peace has been pushed to the back of the room, what has been pushed to the front of the room? And it's not easy to guess. Just take a look around. We're living it. Our schools are stinking battlegrounds. Our stress is epidemic. Our distractions are unlimited. And our politics are toxic. As a sociology professor of peace studies teaching for over 20 years, what I've come to realize is the biggest lie our culture has fed us isn't that violence works, it's that peace doesn't. So the problem isn't peace. The problem is our perception of peace. And think about it. What's wild, y'all, is that 99.9% of us really need more peace in our life, want it, and want our world to have more peace, but no one's really taught us how to do it, how to get there, how to hold its essence. That is until today. Y'all ready? Yeah. All right, let's do this. Yeah, hell yeah. So I'm here today to help you see peace differently and to begin to move in to its essence and its power. So let's start with my class. The first thing I do when I start my class is I give them a survey. And this is the question I ask them. I say, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this sign? Well, I've been teaching this class now 20 years to thousands of students, and the answers never change. 70% of them, when they look at this, they think of hippies. 70% or something in that galaxy, you know, VW vans or tie-dye shirts or psychedelic drugs or the occasional, well, can we go back one? Should be one in between there. But the occasional Scooby-Doo. I always get Scooby-Doo. But here's the other thing. A lot of students will ask me, when they look at the peace sign, they think of the absence of war, right? Or they think of world peace. But those are impossible to them. And then the rest of them think of calm or harmony, which is great, but they talk about it being screwed. Yeah, thank you. They talk, there you go, y'all. They talk about it being, you know, the calm and harmony being passive. So I'm thinking, no wonder peace doesn't work. If we see peace as impossible or dated or passive. And so I started teaching my classes differently, and I said, what if I teach it from a very doable aspect? Peace as a verb, peace as active, peace as something we move into, right? And so I call this peaceability. It's the ability to do peace. And that doesn't mean we're losing the essence of peace or being peace. We actually, by doing, we become peace. All right, so then I said, well, I need to give my students a definition that's workable. So I gave them this, and again, that's not the correct slide. So it should be, it should say safety and well-beingness. But I give them a formula, and it's safety plus well-beingness plus interconnectedness. So that's the workable formula. So here's how it works. Safety grounds us. Well-beingness grows us. And interconnectedness links us. You stack those three together, and you have a workable formula for peace. All right? And so what I do is I show them this spectrum. So the first thing is change our perception. So now we have a workable definition, right? The next thing we're going to do is look at this, and we're going to start moving into peace. We're either moving to a culture of peace or a culture of violence. Now let me give you an example. Did you know we can measure peace? Well, there's something called the Global Peace Index, and we can rank all 163 countries that have been ranked, and Iceland is the most peaceful country in the world. Okay, New Zealand number 2, but guess who's at the very bottom? Russia. Any guesses on where the United States falls? Well, let's just put us south of 5 toward 3.5, but we fall 128. Okay. Canada, our neighbor, falls at 14. And Germany, who's had a history of violence, falls at 20. But we can now measure peace, which means we can move peace, which means we can monitor it. And peace is no longer a relic, it's a roadmap. Now, what does peace look like here in our city? And let's take the formula that we have. You've probably heard of this coffee shop. Yes. Okay. What did they do? We had a crisis. The SNAP benefit programs was shut down. They didn't wait for policy change. They acted. And they didn't ask for IDs. They didn't ask questions. But they offered dignity, a warm meal, and community. And it went global. And now they are providing safety, well-beingness, interconnectedness. Got another example here. A tri-faith initiative in Omaha, Nebraska. What they did is these citizens bought 38 acres of land, and they built a church, a mosque, and a synagogue. And then the fourth building was the Tri-Faith Center. And they decided to live together and worship on the same plot of land. They weren't there to compete, but to cooperate, right? And so this is what religion can look like instead of being divisive. It can provide well-beingness and safety and interconnectedness. Now, one question everybody asks me as a peace professor is, do these nonviolent resistant action things work when I hold up a sign? And the answer is yes, and Harvard shows us this, that nonviolent campaigns are twice as effective than violent campaigns. And you know, sometimes as a strategy, we can use humor to deflate hatred. Well, who knows this better than Portland? Yes, exactly. So Portland, we're doing something right here. We're moving into pockets of peace. We really are. But let me just say one more thing about peace. We talked about it being changing our perception, and we talked about doing it, but there's another part. What if peace is more than just feeling and acting? What if it is the path to who we are supposed to be? In other words, take your passion, whatever your passion is, and take your purpose, your life's mission, and then take your passion and point it toward peace and start moving. Okay? And when you do that, purpose isn't just it's not just a bold idea, but it's you leaving a mark on this earth. And so when you take your passion and point it to peace, guess what happens? Does the world move in a better direction? Yes. So this is just another idea. So peace can be the intersection between your purpose and your passion. I've got a final story to tell you about. This is Wangari Maathai, Kenya. Wangari, she did not march into conflict with anger. Instead, she had something very, very simple, a seed. And then one tree, then another, then millions of trees. She started something called the Green Belt Movement, which began with women planting trees to hold back the soil from washing away. But these trees did more than hold the earth. These trees held communities together. These trees started providing jobs for the women who then could send their kids to school. These trees provided food, and then they brought shade, and then they brought safety, and then they brought dignity. And they gave women purpose and power. This is what peace looks like, y'all. Not a framework, not a wish, but a living system where one right action multiplies into generosity for all. You see, Wangari, she didn't talk about peace. She grew it. Yeah. And that was her purpose. What is yours? Well, I know what my purpose is. I just wrote this book, and I'm going to get out there. No, yeah. Woo, baby. That's all I'm saying. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to get out here and speak about this because peace is a very beautiful, active process. And in closing, let me say this. My students walk into my class, skeptics. They walk out a semester later, believers. Yes. And why are they believers? Because they saw the evidence. Not just on graphs, not just in PowerPoints, but in their own personal life and in their relationships. You see, peace isn't petty. Peace isn't soft. It isn't impossible. It isn't dated. You know what peace is? It is measurable. It is movable. It is practical. It is possibilities. It is predictable, and it's relevant. Peace is the most robust, compassionate, root solution to almost every problem we have in this world today. So, as I stand here, I ask you, will you believe in peace? Will you? Yeah. Will you stand in your peace? Will you take your passion, point it toward peace, and begin moving? And then will you give it away? Because when your peaceability mingles with mine, together there's nothing we can't do. That is putting peace front and center. That is giving peace its power. And we can live in a better world. It points toward peace. I'm on my way. I ask you, will you come with me? Yes. Yeah.
Give it up. Give it up for Reba Parker. Wow. Y'all, let's give peace a chance. Deserves a second chance. We all do.